the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
According to a Chicago Bears insider, it looks like the team is only looking at 4 different position groups with the number 10 overall pick in the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, as we all know, it is officially NFL draft season. That means we're going to be giving our personal takes on who we think the Bears will be targeting with the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft until it comes next month in Green Bay. But once again, I want to take a look at a tweet from Ben Devine, the Chicago Bears insider, currently on X, and we talked about him the other day on how he is pretty accurate when it comes to the Bears and what the Chicago Bears usually do. He was accurate last year when he predicted that the Bears would take Rome Odunze with the number 9 overall pick, and he was back at it again with another post on X, and he had this to say, Bears fans: only 4 positions the Chicago Bears are looking at with pick number 10. He said running back, defensive end, tight end, and defensive tackle if Mason Graham slides. He said these are off the table: quarterback, offensive line, linebacker, defensive back, wide receiver. And then added at the end here, if a trade back occurs, other positions will open up. But at 10, the board narrows, likely a D end or running back. So, Bears fans, let's go ahead and talk about this. First and foremost, how do you guys feel about what Ben Devine had to say on X in regard to the position groups that the Chicago Bears are looking at? Of course, we knew about the running back position with, Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, talked about Cam Scadaboo, maybe in round 2, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, and Quinshawn Jenkins in round 2 as well. But if we're talking about the Chicago Bears taking a first-round running back, we're most likely looking at Ashton Jeanty or Omarion Hampton. When you look at defensive ends, Mike Green, maybe Mykyle Williams in a trade back from Georgia, and even James Pierce make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. And then tight end, I think I would rank that the least amount of opportunity for the Bears with that first overall pick in round 1 of the draft. But of course, when you're looking at the tight ends in this year's draft class, of course, we've been talking about Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State, and Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. If the Bears were to select a tight end, I think it would be Tyler Warren at number 10 overall. And then, of course, a defensive tackle if Mason Graham slides. I think if Mason Graham happens to fall to the number 10 spot for the Bears taking, I think Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, and this organization are going to run to the podium. Not walk, but run to the podium and make Mason Graham a Chicago Bear. I do find it interesting that he did add in this post that says defensive tackle if Graham slides. That means that they probably believe that Mason Graham is the only first-round talent in terms of the defensive tackle position, and I definitely like Mason Graham. We have talked a whole lot about Mason Graham right here on Keek on the Mic. And then, of course, the position groups that are off the table. Quarterback, of course, that's obvious. Offensive lineman, you can probably make an argument for. There's a lot of Bears fans out there, including myself at times, saying that maybe Will Campbell could be an option at number 10, maybe Simmons, maybe in a trade back. I don't think offensive lineman is truly off the table. It really just depends on how the board falls for Ryan Poles and the Bears. I do believe linebacker, defensive back, and wide receiver is pretty accurate that those position groups are off the table in regard with the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. So, Bears fans, once again, I just wanted to share this once again because Ben Devine drops really big nuggets in regard on what the Chicago Bears are doing. He has his sources, whether you believe him or not. He is really accurate. So we're just have to wait and see. Running back, defensive end, tight end, or defensive tackle. Out of the position groups that Ben Devine mentioned in his post, which one do you think Ryan Poles and the Bears are most likely to target? I think it all depends on how the board drops. I think if you're looking at Ashton Genty or Mike Green and Mason Graham are all on the board. I can see the Bears leaning towards Mason Graham and really making their defensive line a force next season in Chicago. But if it's just Ashton Genty with a James Pierce, I can see the Chicago Bears going James Pierce and making their running back room a whole lot better and just giving Caleb Williams yet another weapon with Ashton Genty. But let me know on what you guys would target if you guys are Ryan Poles in the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go, the Bears actually got a whole lot of kudos for their free agency work. If you look on ESPN, they got a A grade for all the additions they made with making Ben Johnson the next head coach. Obviously trading for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, adding Drew Dahlman and Dio Odengbo and Grady Jarrett, among others. They have been lauded for how well they have been doing in free agency. And also, ex-Las Vegas Raiders GM Mike Mayock was also really impressed with the Chicago Bears, and he even went on Rich Eisen's podcast and even went as far as calling the Chicago Bears, for all the moves that they made this offseason, calling them instant contenders. Check this out, Bears fans.
I think the team that I think did what they needed to do the most was Chicago, because Caleb Williams is a big-time talent. I had the same grade on him as I did Jaden Daniels.
Really?
And there's a lot of skill position talent on that roster, but the offensive line wasn't very good. Ryan Poles is a former offensive lineman. Ben Johnson's coming from a place where they prioritized offensive line. So they went out and got 3 offensive linemen. They traded. And what I love is they got Drew Dahlman as a 26-year-old center. They got Jonah Jackson, a 28-year-old guard who I loved coming out of college, and Joe Thuney, who might be 32, but Joe Thuney can still flat out play, and his veteran ability and leadership will really help Caleb Williams. And Rich, what I love most about it, of course, the talent infusion is critical, but he's going to have 3 interior offensive linemen setting the edge right in front of him. And even better than that, the communication amongst those 3 guys that will then leak back to the quarterback, it's going to be unbelievable. And they're not going to have any free runners running up the middle and X stunts from linebackers. And they're not going to have free run because they're all going to be on the same page. And they're going to take a huge weight off that quarterback. And by the way, it also makes their tackles better because they can play from inside out and push everybody up the field. So those 3 moves I thought were critical and make Chicago an instant contender.
You know what's crazy about this, Bears fans? That Mike Mayock actually makes a whole lot of sense. They revamped their coaching staff with Ben Johnson as their head coach, obviously Dennis Allen as the new defensive coordinator, among others. They revamped the biggest glaring weakness on their team, and that is the offensive line with the trades of Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson and signing Drew Dahlman and even getting Dio Odengbo and Grady Jarrett on the defensive line. And then, of course, you have to understand they still have some massive draft capital as well to really round out a really, really impressive offseason. So in regard to their offseason work, I give the Bears an A grade as well. Ryan Poles went in with a mission, and he did a really good job at really upgrading the biggest weakness here on this roster, and that is the trenches. As far as calling them instant contenders, they look good on paper, I will say that, but I'm trying to temper the expectations because we have been down this road before. And of course, we have a franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. Of course, Ryan Poles did all this work to the trenches, right? But we still have to see it on Sundays. They still have to go out there and play those other football teams and win a lot of football games, right? And when you look at the Chicago Bears schedule this next season, it's a really daunting schedule. I'm not saying the Bears can't go out there and win some football games and maybe make the playoffs, but calling them instant contenders before they have even proved anything with Ben Johnson could be a little bit silly. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be realistic because we have been caught up before with excitement in the offseason. We are, 3P in terms of being the offseason champions, but it has not translated to success on the football field in the regular season. Once again, I know why the excitement is there from guys like Mike Mayock, Bears fans, maybe fans around the world. You got the hottest coach on the market in Ben Johnson. Then you go out and make all these moves to upgrade the trenches. Of course, you understand that you have a superstar quarterback in Caleb Williams that you expect to take that leap in year 2 as your quarterback. So it makes a lot of sense. Maybe the Bears do go out there and become instant contenders and make a run like the Washington Commanders did last season, right, to the NFC Championship game. But I want to see it before I believe it. It looks really good on paper. I'm really happy at what Ryan Poles and the Bears have accomplished this offseason, but it doesn't mean anything until it translates onto the football field. And once again, last season the Bears went 5-12, but they could have easily been 9-8. They weren't that typical 5-12 football team. Of course, you look at all the devastating losses that they've had. You think about the Hail Mary game up against the Commanders. You think about the blocked field goal against Green Bay. You think about the overtime loss to the Minnesota Vikings, among other devastating losses. So the Chicago Bears were right there, and a lot of people believed that the Bears already had enough talent in place. All they needed to do is revamp their coaching staff, and they did exactly that with Ben Johnson and among others on this Chicago Bears coaching staff, along with all the moves that they made in free agency as well to really upgrade their trenches and really build around their superstar quarterback, Caleb Williams. So I understand where the excitement is coming from, but let's see it first before we call the Chicago Bears instant contenders. And that's all I want for this organization, is to win a lot of football games and hopefully win a lot of Super Bowl championships. But until they can prove it on the field, they are still just the Chicago Bears. They have to earn that respect because the Bears have been bad for a very long time. I think they are still on a very good path to become relevant once again in the National Football League, but I do not think at the moment they are instant contenders. They can definitely shock the world, and I hope they do, but right now I wouldn't call the Chicago Bears instant contenders. So Bears fans, before I let you guys go, do you guys actually agree with Mike Mayock? Do you think the Chicago Bears could be instant contenders as soon as this season? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.